Welcome back. Have you ever come across something that just seemed, well, almost too perfect?
Hmm.
Like a deal or maybe an idea that didn't seem to have any downsides at all?
Right. Yeah. No flaws in sight.
Exactly. Well, our deep dive today, it's actually inspired by some really interesting insights from Mark at Knowledge is King.
Ah, yes. Good stuff there.
We're basically going to unpack why that very perfection might actually be the biggest red flag, why the most flawless seeming things can be, well, the most misleading.
It taps into that old saying, doesn't it? Beware of an illusion because it never has any flaws.
Precisely. That's what we're digging into today.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is that the absence of any imperfection, that flawlessness, and that's exactly what makes these illusions so dangerous.
How so?
Well, our brains, they often look for certainty, simplicity,
Mm.
and something that seems perfect. It kind of bypasses all that messy critical thinking.
Ah, okay. It makes it appealing.
Hugely appealing, even if it's totally deceiving and leads us way off track from reality.
Mm. Okay, right. So we get that perfection can be deceptive, but let's maybe get a bit more specific. What are these illusions exactly, and how do they actually, grab hold of us? What does this mean for you listening?
Yeah, good question. The Thorse clarifies this pretty well. Illusions aren't just like things that look real. They're often meticulously
Craft it out.
crafted to get past our critical filters. They often appeal directly to our deepest desires, or maybe our fears.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about, say, a guaranteed get-rich-quick scheme. The total lack of any mention of risk, that's usually the biggest giveaway, the red flag right there.
Right, because nothing's truly risk-free.
Exactly. Or consider the pressure maybe you feel to present a perfect life online.
Oh, yeah, I definitely see that.
That creates a really distorted perception of what happiness or success looks like. Not just for others looking at it, but for ourselves too.
Hmm.
They offer this really attractive simplicity, right? A promise of like effortless success or happiness makes them super alluring, hard to resist.
So you end up buying into something that isn't quite real.
Precisely.
Mm.
You believe in something that isn't true, and it's only, much later you look back and realize, oh, that was just a mirage. Nothing solid there.
I can definitely see how that simple, easy answer would be appealing. We're often searching for that frictionless path, aren't we?
We are.
But hang on, isn't there maybe a risk here of becoming, I don't know, too cynical if everything perfect is suspect? How do you balance that critical thinking with, like, still being open to genuine opportunities, which, let's face it, often come with their own challenges?
That's a really crucial point. Yeah, it's not about just being cynical about everything. It's more about discernment.
Discernment, okay.
Yeah. Mark's insights kind of remind us that these illusions, they aren't just external tricks like someone trying to fool you.
Right.
They can absolutely be false promises like those scams we mentioned,
Yeah.
but they can also be distorted perceptions
Hmm.
of ourselves,
Yeah.
of the world around us.
So internal factors too.
Definitely. They can come from external things like societal expectations, pressure to be perfect all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they can also stem from internal things, our own desires, our own fears. Sometimes we create the fantasy because it feels, well, more comfortable than reality, easier to believe.
That's fascinating. So these perfect seeming deceptions aren't always pushed on us from the outside. They can bubble up from within too.
Absolutely.
So given that, what's the actual cost? If we fall for them, why is spotting these flawless traps so important for your own well-being?
Well, if you connect it to the bigger picture, the source really emphasizes that these illusions can genuinely, blind us
Blind us to what?
to the truth, mainly, and they can really hinder our growth, our progress. Think about it. If you're constantly chasing some perfect mirage,
You're stuck.
you're stuck, exactly. And maybe you're also missing out on genuine opportunities right in front of you, opportunities that might be, yeah, imperfect, but they're real. They offer actual growth. It's really about distinguishing between that ideal, that flawless illusion, and what's actually real, and then choosing the path that, truly moves you forward.
Right. So, okay, pulling this all together then. What does this mean for us, for you listening? How do you actually avoid falling into this deceptively perfect trap? How do you walk that line between like healthy skepticism and still embracing possibility?
Well, the core takeaway from market knowledge is King seems pretty clear on this. It really boils down to approaching things with a critical mind
Okay.
and being wary of anything that just seems too good to be true.
That old gut feeling.
Yeah, listen to that feeling. And it raises an important question for you listening. Are you actually scrutinizing things that appear flawless,
Hmm.
or are you maybe letting that shiny, unblemished surface kind of disarm your critical thinking?
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Only by really being aware, being mindful, can we hope to avoid falling into that trap of illusions and, stay grounded in what's actually real.
Mm-hmm. Stay grounded.
So as you go about your day, maybe consider this. Think about a time something felt too good to be true in your own life.
Could be anything.
Anything. A job offer, maybe a relationship, even some self-improvement trend. Knowing what we've talked about, what critical questions might you ask yourself now about that situation? What imperfections did you perhaps overlook or maybe just didn't allow yourself to see?
A good questions to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Until next time, stay curious and, yeah, stay critical.